A kingdom can survive a war, but it cannot survive a broken throne. The prophecy echoed in Aria Mooncrest's mind long before the screaming began. She didn't know why, she didn't know how, but as the moon dimmed into shadow, swallowing its silver glow, a cold dread crawled beneath her skin, an omen whispering, "Something is about to break," and not even the Alpha Heiress could stop it. A night meant for glory. The Lunar Eclipse Festival glittered beneath the darkening sky. Thousands of wolves danced, cheered, and howled in unison as Aria Mooncrest stepped onto the ceremonial altar. Her silver hair flowed like liquid starlight, her aura shimmering with royal dominance. Beside her stood Draven Nightfall, her mate, her husband, her greatest comfort. His hand rested at the small of her back, steady, warm, reassuring. "You'll be perfect," Draven whispered, brushing a kiss against her temple. Aria smiled, heart fluttering. "Only because you're with me." For a moment, all the fears she carried vanished. She lifted her palms, summoning the ancient moon fire as tradition demanded. The sacred flames spiraled upward, bathing the arena in celestial light. Wolves bowed with reverence. Pups howled with excitement. It was supposed to be a night etched into history, a night of pride, a night of unity, a night of unbreakable legacy. But fate had another plan. The first fracture. Just after the ceremony ended, Draven wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. "Let's sneak away," he murmured playfully. "Just you and me. The kingdom can celebrate without us for an hour." Aria laughed softly. "Draven," but before she could finish, a tremor rippled through her chest. Not physical, not magical, something worse. Her wolf whimpered, her breathing faltered, her heart squeezed painfully. "Aria," Draven's smile vanished. "What's wrong?" Then, a roar thundered from inside the palace, the Alpha King's voice, powerful enough to shake the very ground. The entire kingdom froze. Another roar followed, this one primal, wounded, feral. Aria's blood turned to ice. "That's my father," she whispered. The bond between them flared hot, then cracked, then splintered, then snapped. Aria screamed as agony tore through her chest like claws. Draven caught her as her knees buckled. "Aria! Aria, what's happening?" Her voice trembled with horror. Something happened to my mother." The betrayal that shattered the Mooncrest throne. Warriors stumbled out from the palace halls, eyes wide, faces ghost pale. Then Aria heard it, the whispers. The Luna Queen caught with a rogue wolf. The Alpha King lost control, he nearly killed them both. The Queen betrayed the throne. Aria's mind couldn't process the words. No, her mother? Her mother? She tried to stand, but her legs trembled violently. Draven held her tighter. "Don't listen to them. Stay with me. Breathe." But the pain intensified. Her wolf let out a broken howl inside her. Aria clutched her chest, sobbing. "Draven, the bond, my parents' bond, it just snapped. I felt it break." And with that break, part of Aria broke too. The kingdom erupted into chaos around them, warriors shouting orders, omegas screaming, the royal horns signaling emergency, lights, footsteps, panic. But Aria heard only one sound, her father roaring again inside the palace, a roar filled with betrayal so deep it poisoned the air. Draven lifted Aria into his arms. "I'm taking you inside, now." "No," she struggled weakly. "I need to see. I need to know." "Aria, you're collapsing. Your wolf is in shock." Another roar crashed through the palace walls. This time, it wasn't the Alpha King. It was the rogue wolf, alive, screaming, fighting. Aria's eyes widened in terror. "Draven, Mother is still in there." Draven froze, and then the palace doors burst open. Royal warriors sprinted out, dragging a bloodied rogue wolf, and behind them, the dethroned Luna Queen Melina, broken, crying, and drenched in guilt. Aria's whole world shattered. Chapter 2. The moment Aria saw her mother, everything inside her went still. Luna Maila stumbled out between two warriors, her once regal gown torn, her golden hair disheveled, her face streaked with tears and shame. She lifted her head just enough for their eyes to meet. Aria felt something inside her crack a second time. "Mother," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Draven tightened his arms around her as if to keep her from falling apart completely, but it was too late. Aria's wolf curled into a trembling ball within her, bleeding grief into her veins. Behind them, the palace doors slammed open again with a thunderous crash. The Alpha King stormed out. His fury was unlike anything the kingdom had ever witnessed. His eyes were pitch black, his claws half-shifted, his energy violent enough to send lower-ranked wolves dropping to their knees. Every warrior bowed instinctively, but King Draven Mooncrest didn't look at them. His gaze locked on the woman he once called his mate. "Luna Maila," he growled, voice shaking with rage, heartbreak, and humiliation. "By breaking our bond, by defiling your throne, you have betrayed your king, your family, and your kingdom." Maila flinched as though each word stabbed her. Gasps rippled through the courtyard. Aria's breath caught. Her father wasn't just furious, he was destroyed. The public dethroning. 4 royal guards stepped forward at the king's signal, forming a square around Maila. Draven whispered urgently to Aria, "You shouldn't watch this." "I have to. She's still my mother." King Theron raised his hand and his voice thundered across the gathering crowd. "By the laws of Crescent Dominion, I hereby strip you of your title, your crown, and your standing. From this night forth," he ripped the Luna's crest pendant from her neck, "you are no longer Luna of the Mooncrest Pack." The crowd erupted into murmurs, shocked, confused, terrified. Maila broke down crying, "Theron, please!" "Don't say my name," he snarled. Aria couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. She couldn't reconcile the woman in chains with the mother who had tucked her in at night. It felt like watching her family burn. One of the guards placed a silver binding cuff around Maila's wrist. She winced as it clicked shut, suppressing her wolf and marking her as a dishonored female. Aria pressed her mouth to stop herself from crying out. Draven held her tighter, but his eyes weren't fully on her mother. They flicked, just for a moment, to Aria herself, and something unreadable passed behind them. The cleansing decree. King Theron turned to the crowd, his voice cold and absolute. "Her betrayal has stained our kingdom. The sacred bond has been violated. The moon goddess demands purification, and so do I." A shudder ran through the wolves. All of them knew what came next. "A full spiritual cleansing will begin at dawn. Every wolf, every rank, every bloodline, no exceptions." His gaze darkened further. "Not even the royal family." Aria's stomach clenched. She knew the rituals. She knew how grueling they were. But before she could speak, her father raised a hand and pointed at Aria. "Take the heiress to the temple grounds. Ensure she remains under watch." Aria stiffened. "Father, why? I've done nothing." "You share blood with her," he snapped. It felt like being slapped. Draven inhaled sharply, but said nothing. Aria whispered, wounded, "I'm not her. I didn't betray anyone." But the king had already turned away. Warriors approached her cautiously. Draven immediately stepped between them. "She's the heiress. She's my mate. She walks with me." The guards lowered their heads and backed away. Only then did Aria realize Draven was trembling too, just barely, but enough for her to feel it. Draven's misinterpretation. As the crowd dispersed, Draven guided Aria through the courtyard, his arm firm around her waist. "You need to go inside and rest," he murmured. Aria stared straight ahead, numb. "How can I rest? My family just fell apart in front of the whole kingdom." But Draven's jaw tightened. Something sharp flickered in his voice. "Your father is humiliated. The entire pack is shaken. You're hurting, yes, but your reaction—" He hesitated. "It's intense." Aria blinked, confused. "Of course it's intense. My mother." He swallowed, avoiding her eyes. "Aria, I understand grief, but there's more in your scent than sadness. You're in shock, yes, but you're also afraid." "Of course I'm afraid. My daughter's house was destroyed." But Draven still looked troubled, not at her mother, at her, as if he couldn't entirely separate Aria from Maila's betrayal, as if her pain felt suspicious. Aria stopped walking. "Draven, what are you thinking?" He froze. He didn't answer. And that silence hurt more than everything else that night. Before Aria could press him further, a horn sounded from the temple grounds, long, sharp, foreboding. The cleansing preparations had begun. A warrior rushed towards them. "Alpha Heiress, you're required immediately." Aria stared at Draven, eyes trembling with confusion and fear, and Draven still didn't answer her question. Chapter 3. The temple horn boomed again, loud, sharp, and ancient enough to rattle the palace stones. Aria stiffened, the cold night air stinging her damp cheeks. "Alpha Heiress," the warrior repeated breathlessly, stopping before them. "You must report to the inner sanctum immediately. The high seers are calling for you." But Aria barely heard him. Her eyes were still locked on Draven, his silence, his stillness, his refusal to answer her question. "What are you thinking, Draven?" The warrior bowed and rushed off again, leaving the two of them alone in the moonlit courtyard. A long, tense silence stretched between them, until Draven finally spoke. Not softly, not kindly, but like something inside him had snapped. "You're your mother's daughter, Aria." Her breath froze. Draven's voice was flat, cold, edged with accusation, and it cut through her like a blade. What is that supposed to mean?" she whispered. Draven took a step back from her, jaw clenched. "It means betrayal runs in your blood." Aria stumbled as if struck. "No, Draven, no." "Your scent tonight, your panic, the way you reacted." "I reacted because my family fell apart, because my mother is being dragged away in chains." But Draven's eyes were hard, clouded with fear and pride, and something dangerously close to disgust. "Blood is blood, Aria, and maybe it's only a matter of time before you follow her path." Her world shatters. Aria felt her heart rupture, not break, rupture. Her vision blurred. Her wolf, Astra, snarled and then recoiled deep within her chest like a wounded animal. "He thinks we would betray him. He thinks we're like her." Astra whimpered, retreating so far inward Aria felt physically cold, abandoned inside her own body. "Draven," she breathed, voice cracking, "I have never given you a reason to doubt me." "Not yet," he muttered. The words destroyed her. Before she could respond, footsteps echoed along the palace walkway. Two maidens passed nearby, whispering fiercely. "Did you hear? The heiress was crying before the king even finished speaking. Wolves say she knew something, like mother, like daughter. How can she rule us if her bloodline is tainted?" Aria's knees buckled. Draven closed his eyes, as if the rumors validated his fears. She stared at him, shaking. You "You think they're right?" He didn't answer, and that silence was more damning than any word. The mate bond cracks. A sudden, sharp pain speared through Aria's chest, not emotional, physical. Her breath hitched as her mate bond trembled beneath the weight of mistrust. A fine, invisible fissure cracked through the golden thread tying her soul to Draven's. She gasped, gripping her chest. "Draven, something's wrong." He stepped forward as if to help, then hesitated. The hesitation was fatal. The crack deepened. Astra whimpered again, fading into the shadows of her spirit. Tears streamed down Aria's cheeks. "How could you think, for even a moment, that I would betray you?" Draven swallowed hard, his face twisting in conflict, but fear won over love. "Aria, I need time, space to think clearly." That was all it took. Another crack split the bond, louder than the horn, sharper than a blade, emptier than death. Aria staggered backward. "Go then. Think all you want." Draven's jaw clenched again. Then he turned and walked away into the fog of the temple pathway, without looking back. Aria stood alone in the courtyard, trembling, breathless, heart shattered. The bond flickered weakly inside her, the first sign of a potential mate bond collapse. Before she could drown in the pain, a sudden swirl of silver mist appeared before her. A hooded seer emerged from it, its eyes glowing white. "Alpha Heiress, the moon goddess has summoned you. You must come with me, now." Aria wiped her tears, breath trembling. "Why?" The seer's voice lowered. "Because the betrayal you witnessed tonight is only the beginning." Chapter 4. The seer's glowing eyes reflected Aria's trembling face. "The betrayal you witnessed tonight," the hooded figure whispered, "is only the beginning." Aria swallowed hard, forcing her breath to steady. The hollow ache in her chest, where her mate bond once pulsed warm and bright, throbbed with every heartbeat. "Take me," she said. The seer nodded once, lifting a hand. Silver mist swirled around them like a living wind, lifting Aria's cloak, carrying her forward into the temple corridor. But even as the mystical fog moved her away, Aria turned her head, hoping Draven might still be somewhere behind her. He wasn't. He had not looked back, and the mate bond flickered weakly, as if shrinking away from his absence. Inside the seer hall, the temple's high marble doors closed behind her with a whisper that echoed like a scream. Inside, 6 elders and 3 spirit guides watched her enter. Their faces were grim, their postures tight, their eyes filled with pity, skepticism, or veiled judgment. Aria lifted her chin in defiance. "What is happening?" she demanded. "The kingdom is in chaos. My mother is dethroned. My mate—" Her voice broke. She inhaled sharply. "My mate bond is damaged." The eldest seer stepped forward. "Child, betrayal does not only wound lovers, it wounds the spiritual thread of an entire kingdom, and when a bloodline is tainted—" "My bloodline is not tainted," Aria snapped. Astra, weak but present, growled faintly within her, but the seers exchanged glances, and that alone was enough to make Aria's stomach twist. The kingdom divides. While Aria remained in the temple for questioning and evaluation, news spread like wildfire across the palace. The heiress is unstable. Her wolf collapsed. She yelled at the seers. She carries the Luna's tainted blood. By sunrise, servants whispered in hallways. Council members murmured in private chambers. Warriors exchanged uneasy looks. Some sided with Aria, loyal to her strength and lineage. Others whispered that Draven should lead instead, that the kingdom needed a stable male alpha at the helm while everything was falling apart. The palace had not been this fractured in generations. Aria throws herself into duty. Hours later, Aria emerged from the temple, pale but composed. She walked with her back straight, refusing to let the seer's doubts devour her. She headed to the council chamber immediately. Her voice was steady as she issued commands. Her gaze was sharp as she appointed cleansing officers. Her wolf, Astra, fought exhaustion to echo her authority. On the outside, she was flawless. Inside, she was drowning. Every step felt heavier, every breath labored, every heartbeat reminded her of the fading bond to Draven. Still, she pushed through it all. She had a kingdom to protect, she had a throne to claim, and she would not allow gossip to shape her destiny. Draven sinks deeper into paranoia. Draven, meanwhile, locked himself away in the warrior's training hall. Sweat soaked his shirt, his knuckles bled from punching targets, his wolf's energy roared and snapped inside him like a storm with no outlet. He replayed the whispers, the rumors, the sight of Luna Mayelina in chains, and Aria's devastated eyes. He hated himself for hurting her, but something inside him had cracked too. Like mother, like daughter, the thought poisoned him. What if, he muttered to himself, panting, what if she hides something and I didn't see it? The paranoia sunk its claws deeper. He kept imagining Aria comforting some other wolf, Aria lying to him, Aria breaking their bond quietly, secretly. It wasn't truth, it wasn't logic, it was fear, and fear was eating him alive. The Alpha King intervened. Draven didn't hear the footsteps behind him until a harsh voice snapped, "Enough." Draven froze. He turned sharply and found King Ferron standing at the entrance of the hall, eyes dark, arms folded. "Your Majesty," Draven managed. "Do not Your Majesty me," Ferron growled. "You accused my daughter of betrayal on the very night she lost her mother. You left her alone when she needed your strength." Draven's jaw tightened. She... "Do not speak," the king barked. Draven fell silent. King Theron approached, voice low and lethal. "If you let your weakness cost my daughter even an ounce more pain, I will personally ensure you have no right to stand beside her on the throne." Draven's heart stopped. You would strip me of my position as her consort? If you continue like this," Theron growled, "I will strip you of far more than that." Draven bowed his head, shaking. Shame, fear, guilt. But even then, a shadow of doubt still lingered in his eyes, and the king saw it. "That doubt," Ferron warned, "will destroy everything." Then he turned and walked away, leaving Draven trembling in the silence of his unraveling mind. Aria stood outside the training hall doorway, hidden in the shadows. She had heard every word the king said, every warning, every threat. But what broke her most was seeing the uncertainty still flickering in Draven's eyes. The mate bond pulsed weakly inside her, barely holding on. Astra whispered inside her mind, "We are losing him." Aria closed her eyes, breath shuddering. "I know."
Chapter 5. Aria stood frozen in the shadowed archway, her breath shallow, her heart twisting painfully at the sight before her. Draven was on his knees in the center of the training hall, not training, not fighting, just kneeling, broken, confused, trembling. Her father's harsh words still echoed in her ears. "If you let your weakness cost my daughter more pain, you will lose your right to stand beside her." But what wounded Aria most wasn't the threat, it was the look in Draven's eyes, the flicker of doubt, the shadow of fear, the lingering question, what if she betrays me like her mother? Astra, still fragile, whimpered inside her. "He does not see us. He does not trust us." Aria pressed a palm to her chest, steadying her breath. "I know," she whispered back, "but I have to try. She turned away before Draven noticed her and walked down the corridor with slow, controlled steps, her dignity intact, her heart in ruins. The palace whispers grow louder. By morning, the palace buzzed like a hive of poisoned bees. The heiress and her mate slept apart last night. She looks pale, her wolf must be weakened. If the royal marriage collapses, the kingdom falls with it. Maybe Draven will reject her. Aria heard every whisper. She ignored all of them, but she felt each one like a needle under her skin. Still, she carried herself with grace, crown held high, commands precise, tone unwavering. No one needed to know how badly her bond fractured in the dark. No one needed to know she woke up gasping for breath, clutching her chest, feeling Astra slipping further away. She had a kingdom to hold steady, but the rumors would not die, and neither would the doubt poisoning Draven's senses. The High Council demands proof. At midday, Aria stood in the Great Hall with all 12 council members. Draven stood across from her, distant, silent, avoiding her eyes. The High Elder spoke gravely. Alpha Heiress Aria Mooncrest, the accusations against you, though unspoken in formal court, have caused division across the kingdom. Aria's jaw tightened. I have done nothing wrong. That is what must be proven. Draven's head snapped up, guilt flooding his expression, but not enough resolute to speak on her behalf. Aria felt another crack in the mate bond. The High Elder continued, to silence the rumors, heal the kingdom, and stabilize your rightful path to the throne, we ask you to undergo the truth-binding ritual. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Draven whispered, horrified, Aria, no, that ritual. She didn't let him finish. I accept. The room fell silent. Draven stared at her, stunned. Aria, it's dangerous. So is mistrust, and yet you let it fester inside you. The truth-binding ritual. The ritual circle was drawn at the center of the hall, glowing runes carved into stone, flickering with ancient magic. 3 seers stood on each side, their chants rising in a low hum. Aria stepped inside the circle without hesitation. The magic flared around her, searing against her skin, testing her heartbeat, her memories, her wolf, her soul. Speak your truth, the seers intoned in unison. Aria lifted her chin. I, Aria Mooncrest, heiress of the Crescent Dominion, have never betrayed my mate. The runes brightened, pure gold. Astra stirred weakly. She continued, voice unwavering, I have never touched another man, never desired another man, never lied to Draven Nightfall in heart, body, or soul. The circle's symbols blazed white, the rarest sign of absolute truth. Gasps filled the hall. The seers lowered their heads in reverence. The council members murmured in awe. Even the palace guards stared wide-eyed. The truth-binding ritual had spoken. Aria's devotion was unquestionable. Her loyalty was pure. Her soul was clean. The heiress was innocent. Draven still struggles. Aria stepped out of the circle, breath shaky but proud. Every eye turned to Draven. His face was pale, stricken, torn apart by shame. He opened his mouth, and for a moment Aria thought he would finally say the words she needed. I believe you. I'm sorry. I trust you. But instead, Draven whispered a broken, trembling truth of his own. I don't know what's real anymore. Aria froze. Her heart dropped. The mate bond flickered weakly, a flame suffocated by his fear. The palace fell into a crushed silence. She felt Astra retreat deeper into her chest, wounded beyond words. Aria stepped back from him slowly. If the ritual can't convince you, then maybe nothing ever will. Draven's eyes filled with panic, but his trauma held him in place like chains. He couldn't move. He couldn't reach her. He couldn't push past his fear of betrayal. And the palace knew it. They saw the crack widening. They felt the kingdom tremble. The whispers began instantly. Their bond is breaking. The royal marriage is collapsing. If the heiress and her mate fracture, the line falls. Aria closed her eyes. She felt everything collapsing around her, but she walked out of the great hall with her head high, alone, unbelieved, but unbroken. Just as she stepped into the corridor, a warrior rushed toward her, breathless. "Alpha Heiress, come quickly. The Alpha King, he's collapsed." Aria's eyes widened in horror. Her wolf howled inside her. Astra cried, "Everything is falling apart."
6. Aria froze. The warrior's frantic words echoed down the dim corridor. "Alpha Heiress, come quickly! The Alpha King, he's collapsed!" For a heartbeat, her world stopped spinning. Astra cried inside her, a raw, terrified howl. "Everything is falling apart! Everything!" Aria ran. Her ceremonial robes dragged behind her as she sprinted through the moonlit hallways, the scent of fear thick in the air. Her lungs burned, her heart thrashing against her ribs. She burst into the royal chamber. Healers swarmed around the Alpha King. Her father lay unconscious on the jade-carved floor, the silver veins of his throne reflecting across his pale face. His wolf aura flickered, weak, unstable, broken from Luna Mayalina's betrayal. "Father!" Aria choked, falling to her knees beside him. A healer grabbed her shoulders. "He's alive, Alpha Heiress, but his spirit is strained severely." Aria bowed her head as relief and anguish collided inside her. Behind her, footsteps echoed. Draven. He stood at the doorway, staring not at the Alpha King, but at Aria. His jaw clenched, his eyes unreadable. Guilt, fear, confusion, a storm he refused to face. Aria looked up. "He needs both of us, please." But Draven shifted back a step, unable to hold her gaze. Astra whimpered. The distance between them widened into something cold, something sharp. By dawn, the palace was a powder keg. Political tension rippled through every corridor. Councils whispered of weakness. Warriors murmured about succession. Every elder questioned who would lead if the Alpha King did not rise again. Aria held the kingdom together by sheer force of will, graceful, poised, but breaking quietly beneath the weight. Draven kept his distance, sinking deeper into guilt. He avoided her eyes, he avoided her touch, he avoided the truth. Astra felt his withdrawal like a wound. The royal council gathered in the Crescent Hall. Aria entered with calm, regal composure, despite spending the night at her father's bedside. Draven was already seated across the room. He did not acknowledge her. The Alpha King's throne remained vacant. The elders spoke urgently. War threats from the Northern Fangs, pressure from the high clans. The kingdom must see stability. Aria listened, contributing where needed, her voice steady. Then Draven suddenly cut in. His tone was sharp, cold. Maybe the kingdom would see stability if everyone focused on their duties instead of collapsing every time something emotional happens. The room gasped. The insult was unmistakable. His eyes were on Aria. Her breath hitched, an invisible blade sliding between her ribs. Astra snarled inside her, hurt and protective. One counselor muttered, "That was uncalled for." Another whispered, "He's unraveling." Aria kept her expression calm, but her hands trembled beneath the table. She spoke softly, but her words carried through the hall. "I have not faltered in my duty, not even for a moment." Draven leaned back, scoffing under his breath. "Just like your mother didn't falter, right?" A stunned silence slammed into the room. Aria's heart shattered. Her mother's betrayal, her father's collapse, her husband's cruelty, it all collided at once. Her throat tightened, but she refused to break in front of them. Aria rose. With slow, dignified steps, she bowed her head to the council.
"Excuse me." She turned, leaving the hall without looking back. Only when the heavy doors closed, only when the echo of voices died, only when she was swallowed by the empty corridor did the tears fall, quiet, controlled, hidden. Astra whimpered beside her soul, "We deserved better." And somewhere back in the Crescent Hall, Draven finally exhaled a shaky breath, his palms bleeding where his claws had dug in. He had gone too far, farther than he ever intended, and yet he still didn't chase her.
Chapter 7. Draven sat frozen long after Aria left. Blood dripped silently from his palms where his claws had punctured skin. The council murmured awkwardly around him, but their voices were distant, muted beneath the crashing guilt pounding in his chest. He had humiliated her, again, and this time everyone saw. His wolf, Nyx, snarled inside him in frustration. Fix it before you lose her forever." But Draven remained seated, breath uneven, fear anchoring him to the chair like chains around his ribs. Aria walked through the palace halls in silence. Her tears had already dried on her cheeks, leaving only the ache behind. The cold stone corridors seemed heavier now, the weight of expectation pressing down on her chest with every step. Astra murmured weakly inside her, "We cannot shatter, not now." Aria steadied herself. Her father was unconscious. The kingdom was spiraling. Her mate bond was fracturing, and whispers of her mother's betrayal still poisoned every corner of the palace. But there was one place she had been avoiding, one truth she feared confronting: Luna Mealina, her mother, the dethroned queen, the woman whose choices had destroyed everything. Aria's steps turned toward the forgotten wing of the palace, the shadow courtyard, where Mealina had been confined under strict watch. Guards bowed as she approached. "Alpha Heiress." "Let me in," Aria said softly. They unlocked the ironwood door, and Aria stepped inside. The room was dim, lit only by a single lantern. Mealina sat by the window, her once radiant silver hair tangled, her eyes hollowed by guilt and sleepless nights. She looked smaller now, faded, but when she saw Aria, her breath caught. "Aria!" Her voice trembled like a broken instrument. Aria stood still, emotionless, guarded. "Mother," she said quietly, "I need the truth." Mealina lowered her gaze, fingers trembling. "About the rogue wolf, about Fenris." Aria's heart tightened. The name carried the weight of danger and forbidden magic. "Did you love him?" Aria asked. "Did you betray father willingly?" Mealina's shoulders shook, and then, for the first time since the scandal, she spoke the truth. "I did cheat, but not by choice." Aria's breath hitched. Mealina looked up, tears streaking her cheeks. "Fenris is no ordinary rogue. He practices ancient blood-binding magic, magic outlawed centuries ago. He ensnared me, Aria, controlled my mind, my actions, my wolf." Astra gasped inside Aria, recoiling in horror. "He forced himself into my thoughts," Mealina cried. "He made me believe I loved him, made me believe the Alpha King had abandoned me. By the time I broke free, it was too late. The damage was done." A sob escaped her lips. "I destroyed everything, and I could not stop myself." Aria felt her knees weaken. She leaned against the wall, breath trembling. Her mother hadn't simply fallen. She had been taken, manipulated, corrupted, used as a weapon. Astra growled fiercely, fury rising like a storm. If Fenris can control wolves with forbidden magic, then this betrayal was never just hers. Aria swallowed hard.
"Mother, is Fenris gone?" Mayalina shook her head slowly. "No, Fenris never disappears. He hides, he waits, and when the kingdom is weakest, he strikes again." Aria's blood ran cold. The Alpha King was unconscious. The mate bond between her and Draven was fractured. The kingdom was politically fragile. Rumors divided the palace. Fear was spreading. And now, Fenris might be moving in the shadows once more. Mayalina reached forward, gripping Aria's trembling hand. "Fenris will not stop until the Mooncrest bloodline collapses. I fear my betrayal was only the beginning." Aria's heart pounded. Everything made sense. Her father's collapse, Draven's paranoia, the kingdom's unrest. Something darker was threading through all of it. Astra whispered with dread, "We are being hunted." Aria stood slowly, determination burning behind her tears. "Then I must find him and stop him before he destroys everything." Mayalina nodded, voice shaking. "You are stronger than me, Aria, stronger than any Luna before you. But be careful. Fenris knows how to twist hearts, how to break minds." Aria stepped toward the door. Just before leaving, she said softly, "I forgive you, Mother, but I will not let him break us again." Mayalina's tears fell silently. Aria walked out, her heart heavy, her purpose fierce, because now she knew the true enemy was not the past, it was the one still watching from the shadows.
Chapter 8. Aria stepped out of the shadow courtyard, the cold air slicing her cheeks as the heavy door shut behind her. Fenris, forbidden magic, mind control, her mother's forced downfall. The weight of it pressed into her spine until her breaths felt thin and sharp. Astra whispered, tense and alert, "We must be careful. Someone is already pulling strings." Aria straightened her shoulders and walked toward the central palace, her mind racing, not with fear, but with purpose. She didn't notice the figure standing at the far end of the hallway. Draven, hidden in the shadows, watching her. His chest ached as he saw her wipe a lingering tear from her cheek. Nyx, his wolf, growled deep inside him. "Go to her, fix this." But Draven couldn't move. He was terrified she no longer wanted him. Terrified and about to learn something far worse. A pair of council elders approached Aria quickly, unaware Draven was close enough to hear. "Alpha Heiress," one said gently, "given the situation with the Alpha King's health and the unstable condition of your mate bond," the other whispered, "some of us believe you may need to consider choosing a new mate, one more dependable for the throne." Aria froze. Draven did not. Something inside him snapped. Nyx roared, vicious and possessive. "She is our mate, ours." Draven stepped forward, voice low and deadly. "A new what?" The elders flinched. "A new alpha consort," one stuttered. "Only if the bond proves irreparable." Draven's aura exploded outward, raw power crackling through the corridor like lightning. "No one," he growled, "no one replaces me." Aria's heart lurched. This wasn't just anger, this was panic. "Draven," she whispered, but he stormed past the elders until he stood inches from her, chest heaving. "You didn't deny it." His voice cracked. "You didn't tell them I'm still your mate." Astra whimpered, sensing Nyx's spiraling fury. Aria reached out gently. "Draven, I just learned something important about my mother. I didn't have time to—" He cut her off, voice raw and trembling. "Just say it, Aria. Say you want someone else." A sharp pain stabbed through her heart. Astra howled inside. "He is breaking." "Draven, no," she said softly. "I never—" Then why, he pressed desperately, why does everyone think you're ready to replace me? Her eyes shined with hurt. Because you've been pulling away, she whispered. You've humiliated me in council. You've thrown my mother's betrayal at me like a dagger. You've doubted my loyalty again and again. Draven flinched as if struck. Aria, and you still haven't apologized. Her voice broke. Silence fell. Draven stepped back, breath shaking. I'm scared, he said quietly. I'm terrified of losing you, terrified that I was right, that you really are too good for me, and when those fears get loud, I hurt you. I hate it. I hate myself for it. Nyx whimpered inside him, wounded. Astra softened, whispering, He is hurting, but he is still ours. Aria's tears threatened to spill. Draven, I went to see my mother. He froze. She didn't cheat willingly. Aria swallowed hard. She was controlled by forbidden magic. Fenris manipulated her mind. She never wanted any of it. Draven's eyes widened. Shock, horror, understanding. Aria continued, voice trembling. And I realize now, maybe someone is manipulating you too, feeding your fears, making you lash out. Draven's breath caught. Nyx howled. They both felt it, a thin, almost invisible thread of darkness lingering beneath Draven's aura. It's like something whispers to me when I fear losing you, something urging me to push you away. Aria stepped closer. Draven, this isn't just us. Something bigger is happening. Their eyes locked. Pain met pain. Fear met fear. Two hearts breaking, but breaking together. And then, their mate bond cracked. A sharp, searing pain tore through both their chests. Aria cried out. Draven staggered back. Nyx and Astra howled in unison, their spirits trembling. For a breathless moment, the bond seemed to snap completely. Draven collapsed to his knees, gasping, No, no, Aria, please! Aria fell beside him, clutching her chest. I'm still here. Draven, I'm still here. Astra and Nyx reached for each other, and slowly, painfully, the bond reattached. Fragile, thin, barely holding, but alive. Aria's hand touched his cheek gently, her fingers trembling. Draven, I don't want another mate. His breath broke. And I don't want to lose you. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but something shifted. A fracture began to mend, a wall began to lower, a spark began to glow again. And for the first time since the chaos began, there was hope. Astra murmured softly, We can still save this. Nyx exhaled shakily, We will.
Chapter 9. Aria and Draven stayed on their knees, foreheads nearly touching, breaths uneven, their chests still aching where the bond had torn and painfully rethreaded itself. Astra and Nyx circled each other inside their spirits, wounded, exhausted, but finally reaching instead of retreating. For the first time in days, silence didn't feel like a wall between them, but a moment of healing. Aria brushed her thumb over Draven's cheek. We'll fix this, together. Draven leaned into her touch, eyes shining with raw emotion. I don't deserve you, he whispered, but I'll fight to. His voice trembled, not with anger, but with sincerity. And then, it happened. A sudden coldness sliced through the corridor, so sharp, so unnatural. Astra stiffened instantly. Something is here. Nyx growled deep in Draven's chest. Something, watching. Draven's head snapped to the side, eyes narrowing. Aria felt it too, like a shadow slipping behind their thoughts, like a whisper brushed against their minds. The air grew colder, and then a voice slipped into Draven's ear, a voice he did not recognize, yet somehow felt intimately familiar. She will betray you, as her mother betrayed your king. Draven's entire body went rigid, his pulse spiked. Nyx snarled, clawing at the invisible presence, but the voice coiled tighter, darker, like smoke wrapping itself around Draven's thoughts. She hides secrets from you. She went to her mother alone. She lies, just like Mylena lied. Draven's breath hitched. The whispers were too close, too real, too convincing. For a heartbeat, he almost believed them. Aria saw his eyes darken, the old fear returning, the old wound pulsing back to life. "Draven," she whispered, grabbing his face with both hands. "Look at me. Stay with me." He blinked hard, once, twice, but the whisper slithered deeper. "You will lose her unless you strike first." Nyx howled in agony, trapped between instinct and manipulation. Draven's claws extended involuntarily. Astra snarled, stepping protectively between Aria and Draven's spiraling mind. Aria cupped his face. "Draven, listen to me. This isn't your voice. It's not your fear. Someone is pushing you." His breath shook violently. The whisper twisted again, colder. "She will choose a new mate. You know she will." Draven's eyes widened with pain, and then something clicked. A memory, a flicker. His mother once told him, "True doubt feels like a question. Lies feel like commands." This whisper inside him, was not a question. It was a command, a shove, a push, a darkness disguised as his own thoughts. Draven clenched his jaw, shaking as he forced out the words. "This isn't me," his voice cracked. "This isn't my fear. This is something else, someone else." Aria nodded fiercely, tears gathering. "Yes, yes, Draven, someone wants you to doubt me." Draven gasped as the shadowy pressure tightened around his mind. Astra roared, "Fenris, it is him!" And suddenly it snapped into place. The whispers, the fear, the sudden surges of paranoia, the spikes of jealousy that didn't feel like his own. Draven's breath left him in a shudder. "It's him," he whispered hoarsely. "Fenris, he's been in my head. He's been feeding the fear, twisting everything." Aria closed her eyes, relief and horror mixing. "Then he's close, too close." But it wasn't over. The whisper returned for one final strike, dripping with venom. "She will end you." And then, a gust of icy wind slammed through the corridor. Torches flickered, shadows twisted unnaturally against the walls. A shape moved, too fast to see clearly, slipping out of the palace window and vanishing into the night. A low, haunting laugh echoed behind it. Fenris. He had infiltrated the palace. He had touched Draven's mind. He had nearly broken them apart. Aria pulled Draven into her arms as Nyx shivered violently inside him. "Draven, I almost believed him." His voice was shattered, terrified. Aria held him closer, her heart pounding. "But you didn't. You saw the truth. That's what matters." He clung to her, trembling. Nyx whispered to Astra, "He almost won." Astra replied fiercely, "But he didn't." Aria stroked Draven's hair as he buried his face against her shoulder. "We know the truth now," she said softly but firmly. "Fenris is not gone. He wants this kingdom shattered. He wants us broken, but we will not let him win." Draven nodded weakly, breath shaking against her neck. For the first time, he finally understood. The enemy wasn't Aria. The enemy wasn't their bond. The enemy wasn't fear. The enemy had a name. Fenris. And he was coming for all of them.
Chapter 10. Fenris's final whisper faded into the night, burning away like smoke under moonlight. Draven exhaled shakily, still gripping Aria's hand as if she were the only anchor he had left in the world. She squeezed back, steady, sure, grounding him with a quiet strength he had nearly taken for granted. "We're not letting him in again," Aria murmured, her eyes fierce despite the exhaustion clouding them. "Not into your mind, not into ours." Draven nodded, throat tight. She had stood with him through the storm, through doubt, fear, and the poison of the rogue who destroyed her mother's life, and yet she stayed. By the time they reached the Moon Temple, still hand in hand, the weight in Draven's chest had become unbearable. He stopped beneath the great silver archway, moonlight washing over both of them. "Aria," his voice trembled. She turned fully toward him, her expression open, hurt still lingering but softened by hope. And that was what broke him. He fell to his knees before her, not out of weakness, but out of truth. His head bowed, hands shaking against the polished stone floor. "I failed you," he whispered, every word trembling. "I doubted you when all you did was love me. I let my fear become your burden. I let my past poison our bond. And Aria," his voice shattered at the edges, "my heart has always belonged to you, even when I was too broken to admit it." Aria's breath caught in a soft, startled sound. The Moon Temple responded before she could. A gentle breeze swept through the hall, carrying the scent of jasmine and winter air. Moonlight intensified, pouring down like a blessing directly between them. Their mate bond, frayed and bruised, pulsed. Once. Twice. Then it ignited. A burst of blinding silver light surged from the floor and wrapped around them both, threads of energy weaving through their chests, binding, healing, merging. Aria gasped as warmth flooded her veins. Draven felt Ravik kneel inside him, humbled. The bond didn't simply reconnect, it reforged, stronger, deeper, unbreakable. Aria stumbled forward as tears slipped down her cheeks. She cupped Draven's face in trembling hands. Why did it take you falling apart to finally see me?" she whispered. "Because I was a coward, but not anymore, not with you." The light blazed brighter, and then she was kissing him, soft at first, testing, unsure, then desperately, as if reclaiming something precious she had feared lost forever. Draven pulled her against him, one hand at her waist, the other cradling the back of her head. She melted into him with a broken sound, and their wolves howled in perfect harmonious resonance. Pain bled out of the bond. Love rushed in to replace it. When they finally parted for breath, Aria rested her forehead against his. "We're healing. Not fixed yet, but healing." Draven nodded, voice raw. "And I will spend the rest of my life proving you were never wrong to love me." Her lips curved, not a full smile, but the beginning of one, a fragile sunrise after a long night. Their fingers intertwined, their hearts synchronized. The moon goddess watched in silence and blessed them with one final shimmering wave of light.
Chapter 11. The last shimmer of silver light faded around Aria and Draven as they remained kneeling in the Moon Temple, foreheads touching, breath mingling, two souls reforged. The warmth of their renewed bond still pulsed between them, steady and bright. A soft chime echoed through the temple, ancient bells signaling the end of the spiritual cleansing that had swept through the palace since Luna Mylina's Sol. Aria exhaled slowly. "It's time," she whispered. Draven rose first, helping her to her feet. His hand didn't leave hers, not for a heartbeat, and this time he didn't hide it. As they stepped out of the moon temple, the night air greeted them with the soft glow of lanterns and the hum of awaiting crowds. The kingdom had been holding its breath, waiting, watching, hoping. Now they finally exhaled. The coronation. The royal terrace overflowed with wolves from every clan, warriors, elders, younglings perched on their parents' shoulders. Soft moon-fire torches lined the steps, illuminating the path Aria and Draven walked. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "They're together again. The pond, can you feel it? Blessed by the moon goddess." Aria's father, the Alpha King, fragile but seated with dignity, lifted a trembling hand. The moon priestess approached, carrying 2 crowns forged from silver moonstone, glowing faintly like frozen moonlight. The ritual began. First, the priestess turned to Aria. "Aria Mooncrest, daughter of the crown, wolf of truth and unbroken spirit, do you rise to lead this kingdom with wisdom, courage, and heart?" Aria's voice was steady, powerful despite the emotion trembling beneath it. "I rise." The crown lowered onto her head. The moment it touched her brow, a wave of silver radiance surged outward, soft, warm, and undeniable. The kingdom roared. Aria was no longer the Alpha Heiress, she was Alpha Queen. Then the priestess turned to Draven. "Draven Nightfall, chosen mate of the Alpha Queen, wolf of loyalty and fire, do you stand beside her as protector, partner, and king?" For the first time in weeks, Draven's voice was clear, certain. "I stand." As the crown settled upon him, the renewed mate bond flared again, intertwining their auras into one radiant burst. Even the wind shifted, carrying their joined power across the capital. They stood side by side, Alpha Queen and Alpha King, unified, strengthened, unbreakable. The celebration. The kingdom erupted into music, howls, and moonlit revelry. Wolves shifted and danced under the stars. Elders wept with relief. Children ran through the courtyard chasing floating silver lights. For the first time in a long time, the kingdom felt safe. Draven leaned close, his voice warm in Aria's ear. "Your father is proud." Her eyes softened with emotion. "So am I." Their fingers brushed, then intertwined. Unity reborn. But the moon shifted, dimming slightly behind a passing cloud, an omen unnoticed by most. The vanishing. An advisor pushed through the crowd, pale and trembling. "Alpha Queen, Alpha King," his voice cracked. There's something you must hear." Aria tensed. Draven's hand tightened around hers. The advisor swallowed hard. "Luna Mylina is gone." Aria's breath froze. "What do you mean, gone?" "She escaped her exile chamber sometime during the cleansing ritual. There were no guards harmed, no doors broken. She simply disappeared." A cold wind blew across the terrace, extinguishing a few torches. Draven's wolf growled. Not good. And before they could respond, a shadow flickered along the far rooftops. Not a guard, not a villager. A presence Aria recognized instantly. Fenris. Still alive, still plotting, still watching. Draven stepped instinctively in front of Aria, his body tense with protective fury. Aria whispered, voice trembling with dread and resolve, "This isn't over, not even close." The celebration continued behind them, unaware of the storm returning. But the newly crowned Alpha Queen and Alpha King knew the shadows had not been cleansed, they had only been waiting. Chapter 12. Fenris's shadow vanished from the rooftop just as the final cheers of celebration echoed across the moonlit courtyard. Aria and Draven shared a tense glance, both knowing that the peace their people celebrated was already cracking beneath the surface. But duty called. It was time for Aria's first official royal ceremony as Alpha Queen. The ceremony begins. The grand hall shimmered with moonfire lanterns, casting silver waves across polished stone floors. Wolves from every clan gathered, eager to witness the Alpha Queen's first decree. Draven stood at her side, posture tall, presence fierce. Aria stepped forward, poised yet alert, the weight of her crown still new on her brow. The seer's circle approached, 5 robed elders, each carrying a staff etched with the history of the kingdom. At their center walked the High Seeress, Eowyn Mistgaze, her eyes pale with ancient sight. She bowed deeply. "Alpha Queen Aria, Alpha King Draven, may the moon goddess guide this reign." Aria nodded, heart steady. Let the first prophecy of the new moon court be read. Eowyn lifted her staff, its crystal glowing as though filled with liquid starlight. The room fell silent. The prophecy. Eowyn's voice began soft, steady, echoing like distant thunder. "The first betrayal has ended." A ripple of unease spread through the hall. "But the second rises." The crystal atop her staff sparked violently. Before Aria could react, Eowyn's body jerked violently, her eyes rolling back. Gasps filled the hall. She clutched her head, screamed, and then collapsed at Aria's feet. "Seeress!" Aria dropped to her knees beside her. Eowyn's trembling fingers shot out, grabbing Aria's wrist with startling strength. Her voice came out cracked, rasping, nothing like her own. "This time, the betrayer stands closer, closer than your own shadow." The crystal shattered. A shockwave of cold swept the hall, extinguishing every lantern with a hiss. Darkness swallowed the room. And then, the howl. A single howl rose from the distant mountains. Not a celebration howl, not a call of loyalty, not a warning, but a challenge, a claim, a promise. Every wolf in the hall stiffened. Some growled, some whimpered, some clutched each other. Draven's wolf, Ravik, surged painfully in his chest. That howl, I know it. Aria's blood ran cold. Fenris. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was announcing himself, declaring the beginning of something far worse, something coming straight for them. Eowyn's last whisper echoed through Aria's mind like poison dripping from a blade. "Closer than your own shadow." Draven turned to her slowly. "Draven, what does that mean?" But Aria couldn't answer, because for the first time since becoming queen, she wasn't sure if the betrayer foretold by prophecy was Fenris or someone else, someone even closer, someone inside the palace, inside her life, inside her heart. And as the torches reignited with an eerie silver flame, Aria realized this prophecy wasn't the end of their troubles. It was the beginning of Book 2.